Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki Fraser and Rachael Dean, certified clinical aromatherapists. We are excited to have you here on today's episode where you know that you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. If you want to learn more about how to become a clinical aromatherapist, check out the courses at www.schoolofessentria.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Fraser here with Rachael Dean, and we're excited to go over our past weekend.
Yay, we got to hang out together.
I know it doesn't happen often, being in different locations, but it was an amazing weekend. It was the CFA conference. So the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists had their 30th anniversary this year, and we had an amazing conference.
Oh, it was so nice to see everybody. It's been 5 years since the CFA was able to get together because the last conference was scheduled during 2020 when everything kind of, stopped. So it's lovely that we finally got to have that conference together, and it was fun. It was so amazing seeing everybody. So I loved it.
That's just it. Just catching up with people, seeing people again. It's all nice to chat with people online and connecting people with, our aromatherapist colleagues in different chat groups, but seeing each other in person, it's a whole different vibe. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And meeting new people. So that's also, I love that too. So
there was a lot of new members, students, people who, have joined the CFA in the last few years. So that was really, really nice to see.
Yeah. And people from all over Canada were there. So that was really great. People flying in for this conference. So I love that.
And I love that we kicked off with gratitude. The session that Sue did on gratitude, I think
that's Sue Todd.
Yes, sorry, Sue Todd. Thank you. Yeah. I think it was probably one of my favorite. I hate to put a favorite, but I love practicing gratitude. It is something that I try and do daily. So to me, it was something that was really near and dear to me, and that I really love to practice that gratitude, and I'm instilling that in my children, and we do all kinds of little rituals for gratitude all the time. So for me, that was one that was really amazing to listen to, and that confirmation of yeah, I do this, great.
I agree. I can't say that I'm good at practicing gratitude in the way that I actually document it, and that I do try to be aware, obviously, of kind of what's going around me and not take things for granted. But Sue, I've been friends with now for years, since I first joined the CFA, and she has been doing this gratitude journey for 10 years. And so she posts every day on Facebook her gratitudes, and it's something we just all come to expect to see. And I love it because I do always stop and think about what am I grateful for when I see that post. And so, Sue, I'm grateful to you to make me stop and think and, reflect every day. So yeah, that was a great presentation, and definitely we're going to have Sue on at some point too. She wants to come on and talk about reflexology because she's an awesome reflexology teacher. So I'm sure we'll talk to her a bit about gratitude at that point as well. So
absolutely.
The other one of the next speakers we had was Jean-Claude Villeneuve.
Jean-Claude Villeneuve.
See, I don't know why I decided I was going to try to do the French name. That's
the English girls say the French name. It works. No, right? Jean-Claude Villeneuve. Yeah.
Anyways, he was amazing. I really enjoyed his everything that they're doing for the environment. So he is there as the owner of Boreal. Is that how you say it?
But so the Boreal forest.
Yeah.
So BoreA Canada.
Yeah. And they have a lot of essential oils and hydrosols, and they had them there for us to smell and enjoy and buy. And so that was lovely as well. But it was really great to hear about how they farm and the sustainability of the crops and everything that they do. So it was just, it was lovely to hear all of that and to meet them. And I know that you and I, Nikki, want to go and do a visit them at some point. So
yes. And what I love is really how they got started, the whole sustainability aspect of it, but they don't actually cut down any of the trees or things like that. They use the leftovers of the branches, the twigs, the needles, all of that aspect of a lot of the
So they're cleaning
trees.
up the forest as well, which
Yeah.
is great. And yeah, the things that fall, and with all of
Yeah.
these forest fires that are happening here in Canada, that's been on fire for too
A
long for
while.
sure.
Yep.
It's great that there's people out there that are helping clean up that forest every day,
Mhm.
and but then put it to use so that we can all enjoy it.
Absolutely. I was sad. I dilly-dallied and I didn't get my goldenrod essential oil, and I'm sad. So I'll just have to order online.
You know where to get it. You know how to find it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We then
Um,
had Julie Clark, who was a founder of Province Apothecary, and she talked to us about becoming an aromatherapist entrepreneur. And so she went over a lot of great business tips and tricks, and some of her history on how to balance, life with family and business and all that. So she was really great. You got to talk
yeah.
with her a little bit more outside of that too. So
Yeah, I did. We spent some time in the sauna later that evening. It was great. But it was just nice to see how big she was able to grow her company. A lot of work, a lot of dedication, but her company that she started out of her kitchen, is on well.ca, was in, I think, Shoppers, different things like that. So to see her company become global in that retrospect was, we often get that question of what can I do as an aromatherapist? Where can I go? Like, this is one example of many of your brand can become a big name brand, just like any other big name brand. You just
exactly.
have to dedicate yourself to it. So it was really nice to see that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was day one for our speakers at the conference. And then day two, Julie Fischer, she went on to talk about her own personal journey through breast cancer and using aromatherapy to support herself, which I found was really, I want to say inspiring, but that doesn't even begin to cover everything that she went through and her journey through it.
Yeah, it was very informative about how to use them safely
Mhm.
for that. And, a lot of it was just supporting her as well. So,
Yeah.
not some of it was about like, post like scars and things like that, but some of it was just like, her moods and day to day to, make it through. So,
Yeah.
and we also discussed how some people, when they're going through cancer, want to use essential oils to support themselves, and some just find that that's just not what they need at that time. And we had a bit of a conversations about that as a group, and that was wonderful to just be able to talk about openly that everybody virtually that was there was an aromatherapist. And so even if you are going through something, there's lots of options available to you. So
Yeah. And every journey through cancer is going to be very different and unique. I mean, to people who have breast cancer, their own protocols are going to be different and unique. Everything about if you're going to use aromatherapy through any of that is going to be tailored to each individual person. So don't think just because two people have the same diagnosis, it's going to be always the same thing. And also how she used other holistic modalities too. She talked a lot about like chakra healing and reflexology and all kinds of other holistic modalities
therapies
that
as
were,
well. So
that were able to support her through her journey, which was really nice to see too.
and diet. She talked about diet as well.
Yes.
So
Yes. Let food be thy medicine, I always say.
yes, exactly. Then we had Danielle. Danielle was
Yes.
talking to us about guided imagery using essential oils.
Yes. And that's Danielle Sade, who's absolutely great also with her presentation.
Yeah, so we'll probably take some of those tips and do something in the future as well, because I think Nikki, you already do practices like that. So we might just organize that a little bit better.
Yeah, because I do.
Bring
I'm
that to
trained
some
in
people.
Yeah, I'm trained in mindfulness meditation. I used to teach it to students. I've taken many courses over the last 20 years in being a trained facilitator in it. And it is a big passion of mine. I love writing guided imagery, just practices and hypnosis and all of that type of stuff. And I often will just grab an oil without thinking when I'm doing different things, but I've never actually consciously paired the two together the way that Danielle did, and to really integrate the oil into a script for the guided imagery meditation. So I really like that. Just a small twist on something that I never thought of doing when I do it or write any scripts or anything like that. So I'd loved and I'm very excited to make that small little shift when I'm writing my own guided meditations.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So,
Then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'll probably say this name wrong.
Yes, we're back to another French person. So Benoit Ragy, Benoit Roger, he is the president of Alchemia Solutions. It is, that part's English at least. But he was great wealth of knowledge for
Fascinating.
distillation.
Yeah, he went over tons of distillation techniques, different kinds, water and steam and small versions and big versions. And it was great. Very much a very detailed presentation in a way that, I don't personally plan on distilling any of my own products, but I think it was fascinating to see and understand, and also like open up that option to people who do want to do that. If you want to have a kitchen distiller, you can do that. And
yeah, he's got one. And I know I was looking at it, I was like, oh, and now the kitchen one is really more for hydrolats to make. So I think he said you only get a few drops of essential oil. You can't put enough plant material in there to get a good yield on essential oils, but to make your own hydrolats, absolutely. He was like, this is perfect. Exactly. And the chemistry, like he can name off that chemistry. And I was like, I'm actually understanding it too, as I was following him, which is great. Cause I usually have to refer back to our own notes when it comes to chemistry. Cause that part doesn't stick up in my head, but he was great and easy to follow with his explanation of it all.
Exactly. And then the final presentation of the weekend was Linda Prusik, who's a complementary therapist and aromatherapist, and it was talking about her journal of clinical aromatherapy in the palliative care environment. And her presentation was it was emotional, honestly. She was wonderful. She helps people at the end of their lives. And some of the things that she was talking about, even if they weren't helping with essential oil, she said sometimes just like being able to touch and help somebody as they're passing over. It was just it really got to me, because there's people that just don't get that, and it's nice to know that there are people that can help and be there at the end for people who need it. When I was practicing aromatherapy, I had personally gone into work in a palliative care place as well, and didn't get to the point of anything like what Linda was doing. She actually works and is paid and works with the hospital and the palliative care people in a couple of places. And I thought that was fascinating, and kind of also ties into what can you do with your aromatherapy certification. And she mentioned that her having the aromatherapy certification was a big part of how her career was able to happen. But yeah, just you can be a volunteer in this as well and go and help people. So I had started that process, and went in and did presentations for the caregivers and stuff to give them aromatherapy knowledge. And that was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a place that I liked being. I went back multiple times, was just about to kind of start to do more of the volunteering. There was when I was doing it, and I think Linda kind of touched on it too, there's you have to do a whole big training session to actually work with people. And I was just about to sign up for that. I was waiting for that to happen, when shocking, my life just changed gears again, and here I am. But yeah, so it's nice that there's people there, and I found that very emotional and a beautiful way to end the conference, really.
Yeah, it was. And to know that, like you said, she started as a volunteer, But through her volunteer work and with the support of another person who was there who offering therapeutic modalities also, they were able to apply for grants, if I remember correctly, and then through that, like, establish an actual program for her services so that they could actually continue and not just be a volunteer basis, but an actual paid position, right? So you never know where something is going to end up. If you want it to become something more permanent, like, there's usually different kinds of things that you can apply for. I know a lot of times when I was working in the school board, it always started as a pilot project, different things. And then, if it's a pilot project, most of the time it's going to continue to be a permanent project, no longer project, but a permanent thing at that point. And so, like, looking for those opportunities is going to be really, really great. And there's a lot of, I know, like, even here where I live, we had a lot of different palliative care places, places for dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, where coming in as a volunteer would be absolutely amazing. And like you said, I remember her saying at one point, like, just being able to hold someone's hand who might not have someone there for whatever the reason is, like, that's life-changing for that person. So you said it was very emotional, and she does a lot of good work.
Agreed. So those were like our presentations that we got to sit in on this past weekend at the CFA conference. I thought that the board of the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists did an amazing job. So thank you again for pulling this together for us. We know, and I helped pull together the last one 5 years ago. So it's a lot of work, and it's wonderful to see that everybody comes together and can have such a great time at the conference. So thank you again to all of the board members and anybody else who participated in the CFA for a wonderful, amazing weekend together. And
this is why we like supporting these events too, right? Like, we were a frankincense sponsor for this event because we see the value in it, and we want the CFA to continue to be able to host events like this because they're so amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait for the next one. I'm sure it'll be
that won't be 5 years away.
No, I was gonna say let's hope 2 years from now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's my guess as to when it'll happen
Usually
again.
Every 2 to 3 years they try and do something. So
yeah, exactly. So looking forward to that. And looking forward to seeing everybody again. It was so awesome to see you for 2 days and hang out and go for walks and dinners and all that. So
even though we were eaten by mosquitoes, it was okay. It was a beautiful
it was hard
scene, at least. There was a nice little bridge and a creek and a little pond, but the mosquitoes
and some Canada geese.
Yeah. Just the mosquitoes were a lot.
They were.
But that's okay.
We had our lavender. It's okay.
Yeah. And tea tree.
Yeah.
And so it worked. But yeah, so that was kind of our weekend that we wanted to share with all of you listeners. If you ever want to learn more about any of those presenters, like, you can go on the CFA website and they'll have a list of all the presenters there too.
Yeah, we'll link to that in the show notes of the CFA conference there.
Yeah,
so people can find that.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes, the Essential Oil Scoop. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for spending your time with us here at Vetiver Vibes. This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. Don't forget to check out some of our free resources at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think would enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, you can go on over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free guided meditation as our way to say thank you.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply directly to you.